The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, this is Christine with Community Force. We will be starting our training session here shortly. We do have a few more attendees waiting to log in. As soon as they get logged in, we'll go ahead and get started. So I'll go ahead and put it on hold for a minute and we'll give them a chance to log in. Thank you. You can enter your questions here in that dialog box and then click send. It'll send it to us and we will then refer to those questions once we break for that question and answer session. Also, if you're having any difficulties, you should see on your screen somewhere a little hand icon similar to this one. And of course, if you are having some difficulties, you can click that and it will flag us, and Daniel is watching. So if he sees something, he can try to assist you if you're having difficulties with hearing or difficulties with anything while you're during the session, like you can't connect or something to that extent. He might be able to assist you. So of course, anyone that is responsible for awarding applicants, so any staff members that have administrative rights that are going to be doing the awarding aspect of your process, would be the ones that would benefit from today's training session. And in today's training session, of course, like I said, we're going to be covering how to manage the awards. So there's different areas where we can do awarding in our system, depending on the type of application, fund, or form that you're using. So we have manage awards, which is when you're awarding per funding source. So that's usually used with a one-to-many application process. So a one-to-many application process is you have one application, and for that one application, applicants are being directed to multiple funding sources, and there's multiple funding sources funding that one application form. And then, of course, batch awards, you'll see this is awarding per application. So that is a one-to-one application. You have one application and only one fund funding that process. And then we'll also talk about award acceptance sections, if any of you are using those, as well as reporting on compliance maybe later on after the applicant has received the award. You might have a section that is called an acceptance section that you want to activate, and then have the applicant accept the award, and we'll talk about that process, as well as then after they've accepted the award, if you have any post-acceptance sections, how to activate those as well. And then also we'll touch on the renewal piece. There's a renewal report and just discuss how that is used in the system. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's go ahead and go to our site here. Log in. So to get to the awarding piece, you will go from the home dashboard. So I am logged in as the administrator. You're going to go from the home dashboard to the evaluation section, and then select your application form, of course, that you want to award on. And then this takes us to the evaluation dashboard. This is where the applicant status area is. This is where you set up that evaluation process, and then once your reviewer is reviewed, of course, this evaluate applicants is where you were at that time. So of course, the two elements for awarding are these two icons here with these green certificates symbols. So we see here we have manage awards and we have batch awards, and then also the manage renewals. Those are the three areas that you will be looking at in regards to looking at the awarding piece. So I'm going to touch on both of them. The first one I'm going to touch on is the easier one, the batch awards. And like I said, batch awards is for a one-to-one application process. So I'm going to click in on there. And when I click in, you'll see this is the one funding source that was directly linked to that application form. This was that grant fund that was connected. And this amount available is coming from the amount available that was set on that funding source. So what I'm talking about is back home, here in the setup of that scholarship, on the funding source itself that was funding that application form. Let me see if I can quickly find that specific one. Here, if I click in on it, you'll see the academic year here. This is the application that we went in on. And then, of course, this is that one-to-one. So this is the application, and this is the actual funding source. This isn't that posting fund. This is the actual pool of money that's being used to award the applicants in this application form. And in this scenario, with the one-to-one for the batch awards, there's only the one pool. You don't have additional funds linked to this application form. And then, of course, here, this $10,000, if I was to extend that to $100,000 so you can see how that updates, then if I hit save and exit, that figure right there was the figure we were looking at when we went into the batch awards. Let me go home and back into evaluations and back to that application form, evaluate applicants, batch awards. Okay, so here you can see there's that, I updated it to 100,000, so now it shows additional funds. So you can see here when you come to the screen, this shows you all the applicants that have submitted that application form and their current status. If I scroll over here, you can see their current status. Now to award on this screen, it's very simple. It's just a matter of coming here, clicking the edit mode. As soon as I click that edit mode, it opens up the fields to begin the awarding process. Now this is per page, so of course when you're populating these fields, you're going to want to do it per page. So of course you can always extend the display to get more on a page. And then when you do a page, save that page and then go to the next page and do the awarding that way. So you'll notice here there's two fields that open up, an initial award and a final award field. Now the initial award, there's a twofold way that can be used. The initial award is used to enter a figure. You can choose to use it or you do not have to use the initial award column. But what that does is that allows you to enter a figure and then maybe give you the opportunity to notify your applicants of their award amount and then move them to final award. Now the reason you might want to do that is because as soon as you enter a figure and you save that figure in the edit mode, on final award, their status is going to change to selected for award. So of course that status does not show on the applicant's dashboard, but what does appear on their dashboard are two buttons when they get to that status, and a green accept button and a red declined button. And many of you have acceptance sections that are triggered to appear when an applicant gets to the status of selected for an award. So then those sections, if they were active, then they also would start showing on the applicant's dashboard. So the initial award may give you that little delay time. You can enter the initial award, send a notification to your applicants. Then once you've notified them, come back here and then you can use this update final award feature to quickly update the applicants to that new amount. And then their status would change to selected for an award, and then they would have that information on their dashboard ready to be used. The other way that an initial award is used is maybe you want to do an initial award, then maybe you have to get board approval. So you want to use this, do the initial award, get the board approval. You want to track what that initial amount was, then do the final award once you know what the actual figure is that they've been awarded. So I'm going to show you using the initial award first so you can see how to update that, and then go and show you how to then move the final award and then move them to that status of selected for an award. So to award an applicant, it's just a matter of coming in here. I'm going to go ahead and move this one back, and then coming and adding their award figure here. So let's say this applicant received $2,000. I don't want to put them to, let me go ahead and do this one here. They're under committee review. The other one's going to move back to under committee review as soon as we save this, but you'll notice this one here is under committee review. And if I am done entering the figures here, so you can see you can enter multiple at the same time, then I can click here, click Save. And then as soon as I click Save, you'll notice here's that initial award figure. The final award figure is still 0, and their status is still under committee review. So then this gives me the time, either one, I can go to the board, get the approval. Then once I've got the approval, then I can come here and then update the final award. Or this also gives me the opportunity to, maybe at this stage is when I want to notify my applicants. I can either notify them at the initial award stage, or I can wait and notify them on the final award stage. You can, depending on where you want to do that in your process. It doesn't matter with the Community Force site. It's just as soon as you populate that final award, all of the activity that happens on the selected for an award will start occurring for your applicants. So of course, if I wanted to notify at this stage, then I can just come over here and I can select these applicants. And then whoever I've selected, I can do one, I can do just one at a time. I can actually go up here to the Notify button from the screen, and here you'll see when I click that Notify, an email screen will appear. I can send a quick email to just this one individual, or if I've already created an email template for my award process, so you might have an email template that you have that's for applicants that you've awarded. Of course, it would have to be the same message that goes to every applicant. If you've got that template built, then you can come here, locate the template. If you have one, I don't believe I have one on my site here. And if you select it, here's one, just a brief one here. If we have a template, when you build that template, there are 2 different fields you can enter as items when you're building that template, or you'll see that they're also available here on this email if I'm just doing this one. And so this is where you're going to want to make sure you pick up the right merge field. So if you're just populating and sending this email on the initial award, you're going to want to make sure that you have in that email template that initial award item, depending on, so you're going to want to think, where am I sending this email? Where in the process am I? Have I entered a final award figure? Because if you haven't entered a final award figure and you've picked up the final award figure, then of course it's not going to be populated. So if it's initial award when you're sending it, then you're going to want to make sure to choose the initial award. But if you're sending it at the final award stage, then you're going to want to make sure you picked up that final award merge field. Then of course you send it, it'll send an email to them with the message that you've relayed to them in that email template. So if you are using the initial award and the initial award figure is the same as the final award, it's not going to change, there's a simple little update here, update final award, and it's just a matter of the applicants that have the same initial award and it's the same as the final award, you would select them. Then you would come up here, click the Update Final Award Figure. It's going to give you a message saying, are you sure you want to do this? So what it's saying is if there was a figure in Final Award already, it's going to override the figure with the new figure that's an initial award. So click Continue. Once you click continue, you'll notice it populates the final award. However, there's one more step to move their status to selected for an award, and it's only when you use this button that you have to do that. And it assumes that sometimes when you are doing this update and you're moving the initial to the final, you may have a scenario where the initial and final are not the same and you have to manually type in that figure. So it makes you go in, click the edit mode again. This is where you would then make any adjustments if you had them. If you didn't have any adjustments, which in our illustration we don't, then all we have to do is come here, click Save. As soon as we click Save, you'll see that that applicant is now showing selected for an award. Okay. Now also when we are in the edit mode, if you are doing a renewal, you'll notice that if I scroll to the right here, it does open up here these columns. So if you select yes, then it opens up for the start date of the renewal and then the end date. So of course, if I was awarding today, that would be my start date. The end date would be a year from now. And then if I have however many number of years I want to do the renewal, I can enter that figure. Let me scroll back over here. And then of course, once I'm done doing that, then I can hit save, and then that would enter that renewal information there. Okay. So that is how you would award, and you'll notice it starts showing allocated and unallocated at the top. You can also search for specific individuals if you have a long list of applicants. So that is pretty much how you would do the award aspect using batch awards. Now, of course, the system does put the applicants to selected for an award. And of course, if I just did edit mode and I came here, bypassed the initial award, just entered a figure here in the edit mode, and then hit save, you'll notice with that scenario, when I bypass using the initial award, it automatically moves that person to selected for an award. I'm going to undo these so that I can show you awarding on the other screen here. And then also from the screen, you'll see you don't have the ability to mark individuals as not selected for an award. So if an applicant is not selected for an award, I got one more thing to remove here. Hold on. Edit mode. Remove that. Then of course you would have to manually enter applicants that are not selected for an award. And where you would do that is here in Evaluate Applicants. Under the under Review Results, you can do this. If you don't want to go all the way out, you'll see here if this individual was not selected for an award, I could select them, come up here, change their status to not selected for an award, change the applicant status, and then enter my information here in the comment box that opens up when you change statuses. And then come here, click Save. And then of course their status would say not selected for an award. But of course you can see that is something you would manually have to enter. And of course the same process, if you had an email created in your templates to notify applicants that weren't awarded, you can always send them an email by selecting their name, clicking the Notify button, finding that template that you've got built for the denial, if you have one built for the denial, selecting that, and then sending that template to that applicant. The other area where you can move statuses, if we went all the way back to the evaluation dashboard and applicant status, that is the other area where you can select the applicant change their status to not selected for an award, and then click the change applicant status, and then they would be moved to that status from the screen as well. So those are the two areas where you can move their statuses. Here is in applicant status, as well as in the evaluate applicants, review results are two areas where you can move those statuses. Okay. Any questions so far on what we've covered in regards to batch awards before we move to manage awards? Let's see if we have any questions here. Okay, someone has a question about the renewal information. Is it just for tracking? Yes, and we'll show you the renewal report at the end of this, and pretty much it's just a tracking purpose, and it doesn't really keep, it just pretty much just tells you when your next term is for that applicant. Okay, so the next question, what do you do when you have several accounts that are granting money in a grant cycle? Okay, well, we are dealing with scholarships, but of course, if you have more than one funding source, funding and application form, that's what we're going to be covering next in Manage Awards. So stay tuned and you will have your question answered. So if that's all the questions, we'll go ahead and move on to Manage Awards. Okay, so now we'll move to Manage Awards. So Manage Awards here, and on the renewals, do they automatically update? No, you have to go in and manually update them once you get to the next term. So we'll talk about that when we get to the renewal piece. So here in Manage Awards, Manage Awards, you'll see when you have a one-to-many application process set up, and those of you that have a one-to-many application, you have one application form, and that one application has multiple funding sources linked to it to provide funding for applicants, and applicants can be matched to those specific funds as they're applying in that one application process. So, of course, when you set that up, you link the funding sources that are part of that application form. I'll just briefly go over how all of that's linked so that you know how where it's getting its data that it's showing here in this listing, because this is showing the scholarships that this application form is used to apply for, these 4 scholarships. So if I go home, of course, here instead of scholarships, we still have what we would call that posting fund. And so, of course, the posting fund in that scenario, so if I go here to my scholarship multiple, and search here, I would not have, oops, the wrong one I picked here. This is the one. I would not have a figure in the posting fund. The posting fund would show 0 because that's the posting fund. This is just what posted to the site. So you always, when you have a one-to-many application process, you have what we call our posting fund, where that just gets them to the site, gets them to the application form that's being used for this specific process. And then each individual application, of course, would also be, each individual funding source, scholarship, would also be set up. So I know we had one that was called Kessler. If I type that right, you'll see. No, it's not going to return that one. Okay, you'll see that they also are set up, but when I click on those, they do not have an application associated to them, but they do have the appropriate fiscal year. That's the same fiscal year as the actual application form's fiscal year. That's important. And then this figure here is the figure that's being used to award for this fiscal year. So these funds are set up individually. So you have your posting fund, you have your individual fund set up. then since those funds, of course, don't have an application link to them, they get linked in the actual build of that application form. In the Setup Application Forms, under the form name, here in Manage Application Funds. That's how they get linked. And then there's criteria. And of course, we've gone through that in another training. So if you have this process, then you're more than likely familiar with it. Or you can always refer to our fund setup training in the webinar database and the knowledge base. If you go to our videos under webinars, you can find that video that covers that. But you can see here in Manage Application Funds, it shows these are the funds that are tied to this application. So I have Kessler, McCord, and Botts. Those are the ones that are directly linked. And so then, of course, when I get to my awarding, then I'm back to evaluations, into the application fund, evaluate applicants. When I get to this screen here, it's going to give me those three. And then, of course, this one here is the posting fund. It does pull it over, but of course, I won't be using that to award because these are actually the scholarships that have the monetary value added to them. So, of course, then how do I award them? So when you come to this screen, you'll see what you have available. And this is coming from that amount available in the build of that funding source. Once you start awarding, it'll show you what you've awarded and then how much you've got remaining based on the final award amount. It picks that up. Total number of applicants awarded. And then this is actually giving you the aspect, if that funding source, you could have two different applications maybe that they're being used to apply for this specific scholarship. And so it would tell you number of applicants awarded during this fiscal period for that scholarship, not necessarily just this application. However, the next column will show how many were awarded out of this application, and then this number here is how many have matched in this application process. So you can see you've got 5 applicants that matched here, 2 that matched here, and 6 that matched here. So then, of course, to see them, you click on the name of the scholarship, and it opens up the screen, shows you the applicants that have matched. And then, of course, you'll see this does actually show pending submission, so you do want to watch who you're looking at here. But what's nice about the Manage Awards screen is, of course, with this type of awarding, they could be eligible for different scholarships, and so you're wanting to look at maybe some questions, maybe some tiebreakers, questions, that sort of thing. So when you come here, you'll see a column that says Award Questions. And what this column shows you is if I click on it, it will show you when you are setting up your application form, creating those questions, there's a field that says Show on Award Screen on those questions. And so what this does is any question that you've marked yes to show on award screen, when you get to this Manage Awards and you click on this award icon, questions icon, it will show you the question that you said to add, and it'll show you how the applicant answered that specific question. So of course, if this is a tiebreaker situation and you're wanting to look at their GPA to determine the tiebreaker, then of course you can just quickly come here, click on that award question for the applicant, and see what their answer was. And then the same maybe by major. You're looking for a specific major. And there's no limit as to how many questions you can add to that when you're building the application form. So again, that's in the question build. Under sections and questions, under the build of the application form, you go to that specific question, open up that question, and there's a toggle that says Show on Award Screen, and that is what makes it show on the screen. So let me just show you that. I don't like to jump out too much, but I do want to show you because I have a feeling some of you may ask that question. So if I go home, set up application forms, pick the application, sections and questions, and this is always something you can do after the fact too. It doesn't have to be at the time of build. There's no limit to the number of questions that can be added to the awards screen. Here, if you click on the name of the section, of course, that you might want to add, and then you come and open the question. Let me pick a better one here. Let me go to financial information. Maybe I can find an EFC here real quick. Nope. Okay, I'll just pick this one right here. And you'll see the question show on award screen, yes. I'll select that, hit save and exit. And I'm going to get this. Save and exit. Okay, so now when I go back home, I don't know if they've answered that question, but if that anyone that is tagged with that show on award screen is who will be showing when you get to that award piece. Let me get to multiple, evaluate, manage awards, and then you come here. And then, of course, if they've answered the question, we don't know if they did. Yes, they did. Well, there's no reply, so that means they didn't answer it. But you'll see now that shows here on that specific screen. So it's very simple to just add that. I know we did have a limit at one time, but I have been told that that has been lifted. So if you were having limit issues on 20, I'm under the impression that that's not the case anymore. So, but some do say that there is a limit on 20, but I haven't gotten that. So, okay. So that's the award questions. So then now, also you'll notice filter by review task. So what this does is when you're looking at the score results, you might want to see, of course, this is just the Kessler. So I might want to just see the total scores for the Kessler scorecard and only what they were scored on for the Kessler scorecard. So this here allows you to change the toggle and, of course, roll it to the task that belongs to this specific scholarship. And then you can see the scores just for that specific scholarship. So then when you're ready to award, it's very simple. You just come over here to award applicant. You'll also notice a matching awards. If you click on that, that will show you real quickly if that applicant matches to any other scholarships in case there's another tiebreaker. You might want to determine, well, maybe they're eligible in another one. So then you might want to say, okay, instead of giving them this one, I'm going to give them another scholarship instead. So you can kind of see where they've matched in other areas. So if I go back one level here, go back in, went too far. Okay, so to award the applicant, I can click on award applicant here. And then this is now I'm looking at it per applicant, not just that funding source, but I'm looking at this applicant on a per applicant basis. And so this is showing me already who I've awarded to this applicant. So I can see here a big picture of any awards that they may have already received. And then I might determine, okay, I'm not going to award them. I'm going to go back out. And let's award this one here. So let's go to award applicant. Here it's going to show again if I awarded them. If I want to add an award, also you'll notice any of those questions that were those tiebreaker questions or those questions we had show on award screen, they also show here at the top. I can come here, click add award. I can also click here if I want to see that applicant score. And of course, I might want to see the specific task that they're in. Hit search to see the specific task. And then see the score for just that task. And of course I can just go back one level, back to this screen. And then when I'm ready to add the award, I click add award. It opens up the funds. Now what's nice about this screen, I can actually, if I want to, at this stage, I don't have to click in on each of these individual in and out. If I know this applicant, I'm going to give them part of the Kessler, then I can go ahead and award that one and then stay on the screen, come back in, click another scholarship, and award them with that scholarship, and so forth. So this one I'm just going to do the Kessler, and I'm going to go ahead and give them 1,000 out of this fund. And the same scenario, initial award only populates the initial award, does not put them to selected for an award. Then you would notify them, but then what you do have to do is you have to come back here, and you do have to manually type in the actual final award. So if you did that scenario, first of all, then I would just enter the initial award, hit save, do my notifications, and then come here, find the award that I just awarded them, and then when I'm ready to populate the final award, I hit the edit. Don't hit the trash can, that will delete their item. Hit the edit, and then I can come here and then enter the final award figure. I can enter any comments, and then of course then I can do my renewable. So I can click renewable, yes, if I wanted to, the start date, and then the end date of that renewal, and then the number of years it's renewable, and then what's the next renewal date. So the next renewal date would be 08/16/2018. And it will not allow me to enter the same date as 8/15. It has to be the next day. Now you'll also notice there's a couple extra fields here. These are in site settings. And in site settings, you can actually activate certain fields to show in this awarding screen. And there's certain fields, there's text fields, there's so many text fields, there's some date fields available that you can activate. There's a couple of essay boxes, I believe, that you can activate. And if you activate those in site settings, then when you come here, then you can have those fields available to populate if you want to capture some extra data here. And any fields that you populate here will be available in ad hoc reports. When you select the award information in ad hoc reports, these fields are also available in that. And this is for the, of course, the Manage Awards screen. So if I click Save, then as soon as I click Save, it's going to update that information with what I've awarded them. And then, of course, if I had another award, like I said, I could click Add Award. I could pick another scholarship to award that applicant and then continue with awarding that specific applicant if I chose. Okay, so that's pretty much how you award with batch awards. Are there any questions on that? And okay, so entering renewal dates, the only benefit is when we get to that renewal report, you'll see what those dates are, and then whether or not you want to, that you'll need to notify those applicants to do the next stage of their renewal process. It's just a reporting functionality that gives you their name and then what's their date line aspect, and then of course you still have to go in and do the legwork of what's the next step then. It's just telling you who's renewable is all that that report does. It's very limited on the ability that it has right now. Okay, so let's go look at that renewal report, of course, real quick, since there's some questions on it. I don't see any more questions on the actual Manage Awards and how to award. And of course, when we enter that final award, they do go to selected for an award status. So the Manage Renewals, here's the report that is built off of the renewals that we enter. Now there is some other data in here from other training sessions, of course, that we've done. But you'll see here's the one that I just entered. It has a start date, an end date, and then the next renewal date. It tells me it's renewable for 4 years. And so then, of course, if all this does is if I click this Renew Yes, if it's not renewable, then I can just come here and cancel it and then cancel that renewal when it's no longer active. But of course, if it's still active and I wanted to change this date, I would have to go back into that awarding piece, that Manage Awards, locate this applicant, and then change the renewal date to the next renewal period. It doesn't allow you to change any of that information here. Okay. Also, what you can do here is if some of our applicants, the ones that are using this renewal piece that helped us design this renewal piece, they are using it to actually, here on this released, this allows them to access that same application form. There could be information that the applicant has to update from year to year, a specific section that they already completed in the application form. They have to update it from year to year, and it's that same section. And so, of course, once they submit a section, they can't go in and make changes. So this just allows you to do that release to section by clicking on it, finding the section that they need to update every year, and then giving them a deadline to complete it by, sends them an email. They go to that additional info requested status, and then they can complete that section with the updated information. But it has to be the same information that they're overriding from year to year. So that's what the renewal screen does. It's pretty much just a reporting to help you track your renewals in the same application from year to year. I only know of a few of our clients that actually use this. Okay. So if someone's email address changes, you would have to, one, they can change it themselves in their View Edit Profile. When they log in, they can go to their Edit Profile and make the change there. Or, of course, you can change their email address, because this is the email address coming from their login ID, so that has to be changed on their login. So you can go into the Setup Users here and Setup Users, locate that individual, and change their email address there under their user ID. So if I wanted to change them, I could come here, locate the individual, hit search, find the one that I want to change, click edit, and then come here and change that email and click save and exit, and that would update their email address. It won't keep any history, and everywhere where their email address is, and even in the past application forms, it's now changed in that past application as well. And then, of course, they also have the ability when they log in to change it in their View Edit Profile. Okay. So the next thing I want to show you is after you've awarded your applicants, in the build of your application form, I'm going to talk about the build of these specific sections. You may have some sections. One, as soon as they get selected for an award, you want to incorporate the award acceptance into the process. So what you can do, and like I said, as soon as they get to that status of selected for an award, what appears on their dashboard, even if you don't have these sections, are two buttons, a green accept and a red deny button. So if you want to use an acceptance section, you can build that section here and set up application forms. I have just a very general one built on this application form. I want to talk about how to build those. I'm going to click in on sections and questions. And here you'll see I have two sections, two additional sections, an acceptance section, which is tagged as a section type of acceptance. And I also have a section that is called a post-acceptance section. Now the acceptance section would be the next stage. So they're selected for an award. They've been awarded. Their status changes to selected for an award. And so then you may build a section that as soon as they're selected for an award, you send them an email. And this is, a lot of our clients use this. You send them an email and say, return to the application and now complete the acceptance section that appears on your dashboard. Whatever you name this, this is the name that's going to show on their dashboard, and that's what you would want to tell them to complete. And how this is incorporated is as long as it's activated here with a check mark, then here when it's built in the edit, let's talk about the build of an acceptance section. You will see that it's tagged as acceptance. And then down here, it's tagged to only show to applicants that have a status of selected for an award, award accepted, and award declined. And so what this is saying is this section appears to the applicants as soon as their status goes to selected for an award. This is going to be on their dashboard. You can notify them to go in and complete it. They'll log in, they'll see this section, they can complete it, and then continue. And then you have an award accepted and declined, and then that's where those buttons come to play. If they click that red button to accept it, their status is going to change to award accepted. So you might want the section to still be there when they go to that status, so that's why we selected that one. You don't want it to, as soon as they change from a selected for an award to award accepted, you don't want that to disappear. You want it to stay on their dashboard. And then award decline. If they click the decline button, you might want it to still stay on their dashboard as well. So that's why we've got these 3 selected. And then you'll notice here, of course, it's not going to have the same deadline as the application because, of course, the application has passed. So it's going to have its own deadline. And then you give them a deadline to complete that accepted section. And then the deadline time. And you'll notice we still don't have a submit button because what we do have, so that you'll know they've completed this section, are those award accepted and declined buttons. So it's important on this section in the instructions to put these instructions that when they're done completing this section, they're not final yet. They need to return to their dashboard and they need to click either the accept button or the decline button to decline the award. You want to make sure that message is clear and something that they would understand. Just going to make that bold there. Whoops, what just happened there? Text, red. And okay, so you might want to just do something in this section instruction so that they know, one, they're going to save this section, but then once they're done saving this section, they need to return and click the accept button. And of course, if they're declining it, then they would click the decline button. And then what happens is when they do that, their status is going to go on your dashboard in the applicant status screen or any place where you can see their status. Their status is going to change to award accepted or award declined. So let's do save and exit on that one. And then the next section may be a post-acceptance section. So now they've accepted the award, and then maybe in a year they need to report back with their transcripts, especially if it's a renewable. So in a year they may need to enter their transcripts. So you could have maybe, if it's a 2-year renewable, you could have 2 post-accepted sections here, one for year 1, one for year 2, and then they could come here. And you can see I briefly have real quick here, I have upload a copy of your current semester's transcripts. And you could do that for every one that you wanted. And then for this whole application process, they can return and have those appear. So post-accepted sections are set up special as well. So here, one, you want to make sure they're activated so that they get them on their dashboard. Go to the edit. You'll see section type is post-acceptance, and this is very important that this says this, post-acceptance. And then this is set to only appear on their dashboard if they clicked, of course, in the award process, award accepted. Now, if you don't do the accepted section, you can bypass that acceptance section if you don't want to. You can create a post-acceptance report and then have it be on selected for an award as well, and award accepted, just in case they would click that button because they do have those on their dashboard. So you want to set it on both. But in this scenario, we're using that acceptance, and so I only want my applicants that have actually accepted the award to then get this on their dashboard. And then, of course, with this, same thing. It's got its own section deadline. But on post-acceptance sections, and this is very important, post-acceptance sections always have a submit button. And the reason being is at this stage, more than likely you've exhausted all of the statuses. They're now at either selected for an award or award accepted. And so in order for you to know that a post-acceptance report has been completed, we have a special report called post-acceptance report. And that's what the submit button is for. On this section, they'll have where they can save and exit, but they also above that will have a submit button. They must click that submit button in order for it to show in the post-acceptance report that they've completed that section. If they click that button, it'll show you the section and then the date and time that they've completed it. So I am going to go to an applicant that I believe I have this set up on. I think I awarded them again. Let me just go confirm they're at the selected for an award status before we log in as them. Applicant status. Search. Okay. log out, log in as that applicant. Hopefully this will work. Log in. Okay, so if I have an acceptance section, so I just awarded this applicant, I've notified them to return to their acceptance section. They're going to click on the My Applications. They're going to locate that application in their dashboard. Notice it just shows them submitted, but if I click on it as the applicant, it'll open up their dashboard, and there's that acceptance section for them to complete. And you'll also notice there's those two buttons, decline and accept. So the applicant would then go into the acceptance section, complete it. As you can see, I made it very vague. So they just then click it and return to dashboard. I don't know what happened with the build of that. Okay, they would click the accept button. Okay. And then once they click the accept button, they can log out. And I'll log in as the admin so you can see what's happening with them. To evaluations, applicant status. I think I need to fix the question now that's built there. Yeah, I need to go fix that question real quick here. The applicant wasn't able to answer it, so I got to adjust it. Thought I had it, but I might not have. Acceptance here. Let's change this to radio button. Editor. Yes. No, just do this real quick here. Save and close, save and exit. Now log out as the applicant, log in. Try this again. Okay, well, something's not right going on with my application right now. This is a test site and training site, so something, it's not allowing me to select these fields. There's something I don't have set right. But anyway, unfortunately, it won't allow them to accept the button until, it's the same as with the submit, until everything's 100% complete. As soon as they select that accept button and this is 100% complete, then they can that additional section will appear on their dashboard for them to complete that as well. But like I said, this is a training site and we're in and out of it so much that it's gotten probably corrupt with all the data that's been added and taken away. And it's not letting me adjust it right now. I thought maybe it had something to do with the deadline date, but I don't think that's the case either, unless the deadline has passed. Now it says it's not due until the 31st, 2018. This one's not due till 2018, so neither of those dates have passed. So not sure why it's not letting me. Required, yes. Exclude. Read only, no. On reward screen, nope. Everything looks right there too. Okay, so anyway, unfortunately it's not going to work correctly for me, but that's how that would work. And then of course the post-acceptance report would be here under evaluations, under this application of course, under reports, and this is the post-acceptance sections completed. Here you'll see the individual, you'll see their status, And then here's that section, and then once they complete that section, once it appears on their dashboard, because it's not going to appear on their dashboard until they get to the accepted status. And then here, once they submit, it'll have the date and time that they submit that section so that you know that they've completed it. And what's nice about this screen, this is a lot like the applicant status screen. And if you're on a newer version, it doesn't look like my site's been updated with the newest, latest, and greatest, but there is drill down capability on the newest version where you can click the applicant name, you can get to their dashboard and see their information as well. But mine doesn't look like they've got the latest and greatest upgraded on my site here. But there you do have that drill down capability on the new one. Okay. Now another report I want to show you real quick, the last of the reports, is here in Batch Awards on the home screen. Under Batch Awards, and the newest version, the 9.0, is not the one I'm referring to. I'm referring to 8.1 and higher. Between 8.1 and 9.0, there was a couple of little tweaks here and there that are on some of our newest clients. But the 9.0 has not been released yet. You should be getting an announcement soon on that. I see you do have a question on that. Okay, so here on this screen, this will allow you here, if I go to Batch Awards, this is the same as going to Batch Awards. You can actually award individual scholarships from this screen. So you can come here. This is the same as doing Batch Awards, but it allows you to do it from different applications, of course. You can come here, locate the ones you're wanting to award from, select it, and then you can come to Edit Mode and enter your award from this screen here. Another nice one here is Award Applicants Report. And this is nice from year to year. After you start awarding and you change out your application form from year to year, this one will allow you to come here, go to the scholarship name, locate the scholarship, and you can then see how much has been awarded and when it was awarded and what application form they used to apply to. So here I have academic year all. If I change this to 2014, maybe 15-16, you'll see in 15-16 this applicant received funding, and then in 17-18 this applicant received funding. So this is based off of that academic year that gets rolled in the scholarship every single year. And then when you come here, you'll be able to see every single year what was awarded in that specific scholarship. Okay. So that was just a couple of additional reports I wanted to show you. And then also the overlap report is nice. It will show you applicants. I don't have a lot of data in here, but if they have one or more scholarships, it'll show here. If I want to see just the ones that have multiple scholarships, I can click that, or I can come here and click one scholarship, and then it'll show me who's been awarded multiple or who's been awarded just one. Okay, so that's some other additional reports. So that's all I have for the training for today. Let me see if we have any additional questions. Okay. So if I don't have any further questions, then of course we do have a handout available that covers the awarding piece. It doesn't cover the post-accepted sections and the acceptance sections, how to build those. That is actually in Module 3 in the knowledge base. We don't have that. That guide is very large, so I'm not able to attach it in any of the attachments because of its size. But Module 3 talks about the build of the application form, and it talks about how to build acceptance and post-accepted sections in that guide. But of course, Module 13, Managing Awards, talks about the batch awards, the manage awards, how to award in both of those areas. And then also it talks about the renewal report. And so if you want to get a copy of that, you can open up the handouts by clicking the arrow or plus sign, depending on what version of GoToMeeting you're using. When you click that open, you'll see the module. You can click on it, download that module, download it so that you have a copy you can save to your computer. And I'll go ahead and leave this open for a few minutes so that you can capture that. And then, of course, if you have any further assistance, you can always enter a support ticket using your Zendesk support account as well. And of course, you can always access that by clicking the help down here at the bottom of the page. Help takes you to the knowledge base. And then, of course, the support ticket, you can click that. That'll take you to Zendesk, and then you can log in with your Zendesk account and enter a support ticket. But we always, if you can, go to the knowledge base, and your knowledge base always has the guides that are available. And then also you'll see here under the knowledge base videos. And so any of the past webinars that we've held, if you go to here to webinar, as well as the webinar we have today that we're recording, this will be located in this webinar area. You can go to the playlist, click the playlist, and then it'll give you the history of the webinars that have been held for scholarships. And then you can click on one and view those as well. And of course, the one from today will be there, but we'll also be sending that out to individuals that have registered for today's event. Okay. Does look like we do have a couple more questions. Let's see if we can address those while we're waiting. I'll leave that site open so that you can get the guide, but feel free to go ahead and leave the meeting if you are satisfied with the information. But those that have questions, let me see if I can answer those real quick. Someone's saying, if you change your application questions from year to year, will this affect your renewal reporting? Questions don't have anything to do with the renewal reporting. The only thing is, if you're changing your application, then of course, if you're wanting your renewals to do a whole new application form, then if I understand your question, then of course they're not going to answer the same questions, or if they do an import, that question, if you changed a question, it's not going to be in the new application or in the old application, depending on what the change was. Depending on your change, to answer that question, it all depends on what change you're making. So I'm not quite understanding your question there. But okay, so if we don't have any further questions, the one that's asking the question, it says, if you change your application question from year to year, will this affect your renewal reporting? The renewal report is just based off of that award and the date that you enter. It doesn't have anything to do with questions. So I'm not quite understanding what you're referring to when you're talking about changing questions in the application from year to year. And you might be better off with that one if you're needing further information. You might want to enter a support ticket in Zendesk, and they might be able to elaborate a little bit more on what you're asking for there. And I apologize that I'm not understanding, but thank you. Okay, so let me close that and go home. Okay, and then the next training session, of course, is going to be next month, September. It'll be the third Tuesday of the month in September. And I think that's September 19th is the date that is. And I think we'll probably be covering the application rollover. So talking about now that you're done with this application process, this cycle, it's now time to clone it and create a new one for next year. So we'll talk about how to clone and then how to roll over the application, as well as roll over those funding sources as well, because that can be kind of complicated. Okay. Okay. So again, we'll close the meeting for today, and I will see some of you on September 19th then for the next training session. So I thank you, and you all have a good day. Take care.